So my friends, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin at 108,600 US dollars. We could have gotten a top long entry last night. Maybe one of you took it. We went straight down into the 1 hour demand zone, didn't stay there for long, and were instantly bought up again. This pump went up towards 109,300 US dollars, which is exactly the zone where we actually spent the whole day yesterday from morning till night. And now we've been rejected there for the time being. We'll definitely take a look at what happens next in today's update video. Of course, we'll also take a look at the Forex markets. We'll look at the stock markets as well, which have reopened in the US today. Yesterday was Memorial Day. Let's see if anything happens there today. But before we get started, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You'll find the link for that for free down in the video description. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade everything we discuss here, feel free to sign up with my partner exchange Binks using the link below in my video description. At the moment, you can get up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses here. And yeah, you can snag a bit of starting capital, so to speak, for your first trades or your first experiences on an exchange. So Bitcoin at 108,600 US dollars. As I said, that would have actually been the perfect entry tonight. But as you know, I'm not a fan of limit orders, so I didn't get in. For those of you who did get in, take profit at the first target, set your stop loss to entry, and secure your position for now. At the moment, we're kind of, on a knife's edge, I'd say. That's mainly because we're currently, once again, very, very close to the top. That's the first point, which shouldn't be underestimated. Of course, up here, there are also a lot of long orders, a lot of short orders coming into the market as well. And that, of course, also leads to liquidations, which, as I said, we shouldn't neglect. Furthermore, if we take a quick look at the funding rates, they're actually still relatively reasonable. So, of course, they've gone up a bit again if we compare it to the last few days. We hardly see any green here anymore, so it's mostly white again, which means a neutral environment that could lead to a correction coming in here sooner or later, slowly but surely. And that's something we need to pay a bit more attention to at the moment. That's also the point that makes it a bit more difficult at the moment to get into any trades here. Of course, a short position is point number one. You could start considering slowly but surely building something up. Especially if we draw from the top to our low here, we can see that we were rejected right at the golden pocket. And that's already the first negative point. Second, rising funding rates, which we shouldn't ignore. Point number three, which would still lead me to expect higher prices, is if we look at the heat map here. At least from a daily perspective, we still have up to 110,700 and even up to 113,000 on the daily chart. And now let's switch to the 3-day view. Looking at the current situation there, it's the same story up to around 111,000. We have a lot of liquidity sitting there, and to the downside, of course, there's significantly more. But still, it could always lead to us coming back to address the inefficiency that we didn't take out yesterday. That was actually the plan yesterday, to first move down, grab the liquidity or fill the vector candle, and then move up to fill the red vector candle up to 111,000. It didn't quite work out. We went up a bit at first, but still haven't completely filled the vector here or addressed the inefficiency. That means the move we made last night could still lead to us going up, collecting liquidity, and only then starting the downtrend. It's difficult at the moment. We're forming a nice accumulation range here again, which I wouldn't necessarily see as negative because, as you know, it's basically always the same game here, accumulation and then the next pump. It will also depend a bit on how the numbers turn out this week. We talked about it, Friday, inflation numbers. Let's see what else comes up, and who knows what Trump might come up with, right? So these are all things to keep an eye on. For me, at the moment, we should go down there again. I'll probably go in again personally. That's simply because I didn't get in overnight. I'll take another look at the zones as well. We have room, if we look at it from a 4-hour perspective, down to 116,600 US dollars. That would also fit with all the wicks. So by then, a stop loss should be set. If you think, okay, it's too early for a stop loss now, then at the latest, set it below here. Otherwise, I'll keep an eye on it throughout the day and, if necessary, open a new short position up here. Let's move on to Ethereum. So what happened there? Basically nothing at all. Here too, there was a slight sell-off last night, okay, down to 2,510, but nothing really happened here. We didn't have any real momentum yesterday either. That was kind of my setup. As I mentioned, if Bitcoin rises, we could at least move up here with Ethereum towards 2,650 or 2,690. but that didn't happen. We'll see. That's why I'm hoping now that Bitcoin will pump again during the day up to 110, 111, and that Ethereum will follow along in this direction up here. Otherwise, if BTC dumps, then things will probably look pretty bleak for Ethereum as well, at least for now. But otherwise, even here, at the moment, if we take a look at the bigger picture and the indicator, let me quickly remove it. It's getting too much. It's simply just a range. There's really nothing more here at the moment. It's simply a range that's suitable for accumulation, which could, of course, continue the trend all the way to the top. So our overarching target of 2,890 or even 3,000 US dollars is definitely still in play, as long as we don't see any lower lows here. Solana, what has happened there? Also not really much. But you also have to say the move yesterday, it was very, very quiet yesterday. It doesn't matter which markets we look at. In my opinion, it was even too quiet. But all right, today the US markets are open again, so there should be a bit more movement. That was all during the Asia session. And above all, here as well, Solana filled the vector candle perfectly with a red one to the upside. So here too, a reversal could come in for now, which in my opinion would actually fit very, very well. Let's see how this develops now. Otherwise, what's important for the next few hours is that we need to get back above the daily open here. That's the level Solana needs to get above for $175, I'd say, to maintain the upward trend. Let me quickly sketch out for you how I imagine this. Confirm the upward trend and then continue the rally. Otherwise, it could get ugly if we fall below this level, as that would likely create negative sentiment and then continue the downward trend toward 156. I would keep the strategy we had back then, which was only narrowly missed, still in place in case we get a brief little flash crash here, at least to shake out all the longs from the market. I would keep an eye on that. Otherwise, that's the range for the morning and afternoon for now. Depending on which direction Solana moves, we'll also see how the day is likely to play out. Let's move on to gold. Gold hasn't really done much anymore. At least it almost picked up everything up here, though not everything. This wick up here at 3,370 is still there. Yesterday's analysis was fine. We're heading back towards 3,270. For me, that's still in play, just being honest with you. So it's not far for us to drop down there. Let's remove the higher level FIP level and instead pull in this one here from the last trend. That would fit really, really well. The 200 SMA is located here, at least on the 1 hour chart. If we switch to the 4 hour time frame, we've already overshot it a bit, of course, but still for me, that's currently the small long area where I'd consider at least taking a small long position. We already checked yesterday. There really aren't any vectors here. But for me, this is currently the long area to ride the trend back up. Given all the uncertainty with 10-year, 20-year and 30-year government bonds, a weak US dollar and the bond market not being in demand at all right now, I don't expect to see a huge crash in gold. It's more likely to see smaller pullbacks like the two we've just had in our golden pocket, which can then be bought up again to continue riding the trend upward. Let's move over to the Dow Jones. What has happened there? Nothing, because the markets were closed. As I said yesterday, it's a bit crucial for me right now to see how these markets behave today. The Nasdaq definitely has potential to move downward toward 20,000 points. We don't need to overthink it, just like the Dow Jones did. Retest of the golden pocket, S&P 500, basically the same scenario. Also dropping down again to the golden pocket like the Nasdaq, and then we'll see how things develop. So I'm curious to see how the market will open, especially since the news about the EU terror threats, which have now been called off for the time being, hasn't really been priced in yet, or rather the US market hasn't really reacted to it yet. It could get interesting again, but that would make the most sense to me. Retest the golden pocket and then shoot up to the all-time high. At the same time, the euro unfortunately didn't hit the top up here again. But still, for me, I'll keep an eye on it today to see whether we might get a small short entry here or whether we should just keep waiting for the long entry. So I'll continue to watch very closely how things develop here for now. I think that we'll at least see another small dump, maybe even at the market open, and then we'll have to watch very closely in the end to see where we stop. That's quite possible. We have the 200 SMA here on the 1 hour chart, so it could well be that this price area down here is already enough to continue the upward trend. So the euro actually remains bullish, except that up here we just haven't broken through this resistance at first glance. But that's not necessarily a bad thing for now. It doesn't always have to be broken immediately, which is why I'm keeping an eye on it for the time being. The trend is definitely still intact for now, and just for the sake of completeness, here's the FIB level as well. The golden pocket is down there, and the 0.382 level would be this red box. So I'll keep an eye on it, and if anything comes up, I'll definitely let you know. Otherwise, there will be updates on NIR later, as there's another interesting buying zone marked there. And that's it from my side. I wish you a nice, relaxing day. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk again later. Until then, bye-bye. Leave a like, subscribe, join the Telegram group, and we'll talk again later. Until then, bye-bye. And as always, stay crypto.